Hello, this is Arthur Dahl of the International Environment Forum and a retired senior official of UNEP. I should like to share with you some reflections about Sustainable Development Goal 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. The goal to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns touches on both sides of the economic process, producing goods and services to support human well-being, both of which are today highly unsustainable, with the rape and pillage of the planet's resources to respond to short-term demands. Driven by the wrong indicators, like GDP, that simply measure the flow of money through the economy without judging the purpose of those flows or their contribution to human well-being, we have structured the economy around governments dominated by economic thinking and private enterprises driven by the profit motive. The economy has globalized, while government regulation remains largely national. And with a natural tendency towards monopoly positions, with an increasing concentration of power and wealth, giant multinationals are more influential today than most governments, and there is no global institution capable of regulating them in the common interest. The result is a circular diseconomy, with enormous sums spent on advertising to cultivate desires in passive consumers for goods of marginal utility, if not actually damaging to health and well-being, produced with as little labor as possible to expand profit margins, and planned obsolescence to keep consumers coming back for more. The natural and social capital required to produce these goods are treated as externalities and not included in corporate profits and loss statements or national accounts, hiding the fact that we are living far beyond our means, while economic, social, and environmental debts accumulate for future generations to bear. Businesses claim that they are simply responding to consumer demand, when in fact they work hard to create that demand and steer it in the most profitable directions. Among the consequences are our failure to respond adequately to climate change because of the vested interests in the production and consumption of fossil fuels, the alarming recent signs of the collapse of biodiversity and a human-caused planetary extinction event are largely due to multinational agro-industries and chemical manufacturers pushing intensive, large-scale farming methods dependent on the widespread use of chemical fertilizers and toxic chemicals, all with the primary purpose of increasing corporate profits. There is no global mechanism to regulate damaging production processes or to defend planetary carrying capacity. While there are many responsible producers and innovators showing that sustainable production is possible, they carry little weight in the present unsustainable production system. If we look at consumption, ultimately it is each of us as a consumer that decides what to buy and how to consume it, at least within the choices presented to us, or to decide not to buy at all beyond basic necessities. For the poor, there is no choice, just consuming whatever is available. Responsible living becomes an ethical challenge, especially when bombarded with messages and surrounded by social pressures designed with great sophistication to push us into buying. New technologies have only amplified the problem, both with ever-expanding range of products and with new media connecting us constantly with those aiming to manipulate us in multiple ways. More research is needed in the social sciences to understand how we so easily fall prey to this psychological manipulation. For example, the impacts of the spread and consumption of IT products and networks need to be studied, both to improve their use to empower the poor and provide everyone with access to knowledge and science, and also to understand the dangers of overconsumption, the cultivation of addictions to social media, impacts of children's use of technology on their education and the development of young minds, and the dangers of their use to manipulate the public in everything from consumption patterns to elections. The extensive research in marketing and product design to increase consumption is not presently balanced with research to reduce excessive consumption. There are behavioral barriers, mindsets, confirmation biases, and ideologies that are resistant to fact-based information. Alongside a reorientation towards more durable and recyclable products, a major new effort is needed on how to motivate simpler, less material lifestyles, being content with little, and turning in other directions once basic needs are met. Researchers in the social sciences need to partner with those dealing with the ethical, moral, and spiritual dimensions of human purpose, where some of the answers may be found. The ephemeral pleasure of the materialistic consumer society, where status is measured by consumption and greed, and is admired, needs to give way to the satisfaction of leading a virtuous life. Young people can be vaccinated against consumerism if they learn early the pleasures of altruistic acts of service to their community. If each of us learns to be content with little, there will be enough for everyone. As Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, has put it, take from this world only to the measure of your needs, and forgo that which exceedeth them. On the production side, the necessary fundamental transition will challenge the economic sciences to design alternative economies that are socially just, altruistic and cooperative, create employment, and reduce poverty and inequality, as called for in Sustainable Development Goals. While business is a legitimate partner in implementing the SDGs, attention is needed to both the danger and the potential consequences of businesses taking over sustainable development, becoming the dominant partners to make it a profit-making enterprise for the very few. Greening products is necessary, but is not the core of sustainable development. More fundamental change is often needed in directions that will not be attractive to business. For example, it is important to encourage products and technologies that people and communities can master themselves, and not only those that are profitable in a business context. Obviously, the economic transition would have to be planned carefully. Major parts of today's economy are engaged in production that does not contribute to sustainability or human well-being. Major investments must be written off. Capital will need to be reoriented, and new forms of employment created for all those whose jobs will be lost during the transition. Fundamental change is always painful for many, and their needs have to be taken into consideration. In a larger perspective, as the Baha'i international community has put it, quote, sustainable production is not simply about greener technology, but rather should involve systems that enable all human beings to contribute to the productive process. In such a system, all are producers, and all have the opportunity to earn, or receive, if unable to earn, enough to meet their needs. The concept of justice is embodied in the recognition that the interests of the individual and of the wider community are inextricably linked. Ultimately, the transformation required to shift towards sustainable consumption and production will entail no less than an organic change in the structure of society itself, so as to reflect fully the interdependence of the entire social body, as well as the interconnectedness with the natural world that sustains it. Thank you for listening to us.